Shalom. In respect to the beautiful black sisters, Queen of the Universe, Mother of the planet Earth, if they, the so-called elite, base their beliefs on Crowleyism, and Crowley was a bisexual, if they drink blood, sacrifice babies, have sex and orgies with animals, children, corpses, if they intentionally poison the water supply, if they intentionally spread disease, create disease, and even pollute the air and sky, if they marginalize the elderly, the poor, minorities, women, then it is plausible to me that she is a he. This is about your main man, 50 grand, obesity. And what I believe is one of the most heinous things that's ever been perpetrated by the Crowleyan Luciferian elite. And it has to do with the Boule connection to the Crowleyan homo sex magic, the Paris working, the Babylon working. And the homosexual sex magic was used in order to tear the veil, in order to rip the fabric of time and space. And once that fabric is ripped, then you create a portal, a doorway, through which extra-dimensional entities can enter. And homosexual sex is one of the great abominations that causes a rip in the fabric of time and space. And I am sorry for those who may feel otherwise. You can hear me now and believe me later. This is an actual fact. The phenomena of homosexuality, of bisexuality, of transsexual and transgender queer behavior, lesbian behavior, there is one spirit at the root of all of these things, which is why you should be cautious in accepting bisexuality from women. Whether you see it in videos or whether you practice it in your actual sex life, you are inviting into your bedroom demon spirits of bisexuality, perversion spirits that do not differentiate between making two men sexual with one another and making two women sexual with one another. Once that demon spirit is in your bed, once you have had intercourse with it, once you have vibrated in such a way as to excite yourself enough to open up a portal or a doorway in yourself, in your own temple, and you let something unclean in, you too now have the potential to be possessed by that same bisexual spirit. And this is why the sex rituals and the orgies are so important in secret societies, in the Brotherhood, and in the Boule. And you will find many people talking about Morehouse and the large gay black male community, the down low brother community that's there, and the not so down low brother community that's there. And that's not exclusive to Morehouse College, but it's just going to show you that among black elitism, there is this acceptance of a homosexual philosophy, or of an acceptance toward bisexuality or homosexuality. And the commander-in-chief would be the top Boule member in New Babylon. Now, would he not? So if he is the top Boule member, then of course he has been involved in this as well. Now, the stories of Obama being Swedish, and I don't mean that he's not African, I mean a little sweet. The stories about Obama being Swedish are infamous, some famous. And if you look into the stories of Larry Sinclair and Donald Young, you will find more evidence of that. Larry Sinclair was the limo driver who came out during the time Obama was still a senator, as a matter of fact. Well, no, actually it was after that. But he linked up with Obama while he was a senator. And they had wild and crazy body boy sex, oral, and it was performed on Obama. But while he was laying back getting served, Larry Sinclair said that old Beasley went on ahead and lit up that glass thing, and he hit the pipe while Larry Sinclair was handling his business. So I said all that to say, and also with Donald Young. Donald Young was the choir director at Jeremiah Wright's church. Donald Young was mysteriously killed, they say, by a robbery going wrong or some strange circumstance on Christmas Eve. And his mother once answers to this day. And it is widely known in that community that Obama was messing around in the bathhouses in Chicago. The bathhouses is the down low gay clubs, you see, where men can go in there and, like Vegas, what's done there stays there. And Obama and Rahm Emanuel, who of course was Obama's cabinet member who became mayor of Chicago, both were cited at these clubs and known to be regulars there at the bathhouse clubs. Now Obama's mother, she was an MK Ultra sex kitten. His dad was a reported pedophile, like many Brotherhood members, who actually molested Obama, according to some sources. Now, again, these are not mainstream things, my brothers and sisters, so do not expect to cross-reference this right quick and find all of the information. These are things you only find by digging and looking on the fringes of what popular media would have you believe about your shining commander-in-chief. Do you overstand the amount of publicity and grooming and the amount of marketing that has gone into making you love Obeezy? And it would be all good if he was all good, but his agenda is like a John the Baptist to the Antichrist. And when people say the Antichrist, and I've even been guilty of this myself in the past, but when people say Antichrist, they assume there is going to be one figure equal or equivalent on the dark side level to Jesus the Christ. But that's not what the scripture says. The scripture says Antichrist in plural. There shall be many false Christs and Antichrists, and even now there are among us. And well, Obeezy is one of those for sure. Down from his name, which of course was not Barack Obama, that weird name that DMX clowned. That was the name given to him, and we know Barack is a Hebrew word for blessed. But also Barack Obama as a combination is a Hebrew phrase for lightning from heaven, which was revealed here on YouTube a few years back, and a lot of people have gotten a hold of that video and have seen it. I'm sorry that brother's name escapes me, and I do want to give a shout out to Ms. Mice and to the R in New York for sowing into the ministry, a temple of the true Yahshua, and they are indeed temples of the true Yahshua, and I'm thankful to have connected with them. But yes, like many Brotherhood members, Obama's father is reported to have, when he would visit Obama, regularly sodomized him. And this would go in line with Crowley and sex magic, which was very focused on molesting young boys. Crowley himself said at one point that he had killed over 150 young boys in his rituals, because part of the Crowley and sex magic ritual one of the Crowley and sex magic rituals that Aleister Crowley developed was while having intercourse with a young man, and he liked a particular type of young man, a curious young man about the age of 10. He said while having intercourse with the boy, at the point of climax, he would snap the boy's neck, and this would tear a huge gaping hole in the fabric of time and space, as an abominable act will do, vibrationally open up the molecules in time and space and the dimensions, and allow these beings through. And it was Alistair's purpose and intent to do so. Well, his magic practices were taught among the 33rd degree. Crowley and Pike are the two men most noted as being responsible for the rites which would become the Luciferian rites of the 33rd degree. 32 and below, you remain freezing. Like 32 degrees and below, you're freezing. And above 32, of course, you've been warmed up by the light or the fire of Lucifer. Think about magic being 32 below, and above was the white man, in the midst of the racial tension that was still going on, and of black folks being told it's time for us to make certain strides. There was a low-key and down-low pitting of black versus white, simply in the rivalry of magic and bird. And 32 and 33, and the bird, of course, you know, sometimes they change their names, and we'll never know. They can legally change their names and keep that from public record once they become a part of the brotherhood, because who keeps the public record? The judges, and everybody's involved. So if it's to the good of the great work to keep certain things about your identity low-key, that's not a problem. That can be easily done. Now, his mom was a sex kitten in the early sex magazines that you saw back in the 50s, with the not your normal Playboy or even Hustler level, but this was more of a fetish type of sex magazine, and several different ones at that. If you type in Obama's Mama or Obama Mama Sex, you'll find pictures, undeniable pictures of his mother, Stanley. Interesting. A male name. You will find her posed in very compromising positions again and again in several of these magazines, which means that she was plugged into the network that was producing this pornography. This gives us a lot of evidence to fuel the fire that I'm stoking, that I believe that she was indeed an MK Ultra sex kitten, and that she either gave over her son, or her son was conceived by one of the elites, and she was used basically as an incubator, or like Princess Diana said, as a brood mare, just to breed the child, because she didn't raise him. We know that. He's admitted that. But his childhood and his teenage years were also soaked with allegations that the cocaine that he would be able to bring around and party with the other kids with was provided to him by the older men who he would spend time with. And it was also noted that his roommate was suspect, and their relationship with each other was also suspect. Obama also had a tranny nanny when he was a young man coming up. Now look at this environment. Then you wonder why he's so pro-gay. And this is not an indictment on gay or an indictment on Obama, because if these things are true, then he was a victim as much as Michael was a victim from the time he was a child, victimized by a parent who gave him over in exchange for perceived success. We find this time and time again. Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus. We find this time and time again. Okay? Shirley Temple and Liza Minnelli. We find this time and time again. It is why the Sutherlands, Estevez. This is why you get families involved. I used to think it's because one family member was plugging in another to help him out. No, you be trying to get out of a jam and trade one soul for another. In order to get out of the spirit jam that they end up getting themselves into, they must trade somebody. You can't just leave us. Leave us somebody and we'll let you go. Which is a lie, because then the spirits have two people instead of one, and why would they let either one go? But they're deceiving spirits, so they lie. So I believe that Obama's mother, like Pop's mother, was offered a deal that she could not refuse because of the position and predicament she had been placed in herself, an abuse victim. That's how it goes. Generational abuse, generational and ancestral demons, ancestral curses falling down upon the third and fourth generations even. Obama's death list is one of the longest of any U.S. president in history. Obese marks him. He takes people out the game. He ain't playing around. You see that little drone joke that he made at the correspondence dinner? That wasn't so much of a joke as it was a veiled threat to us, to the elect, who are getting attacked in a new way in this day and time, because we're getting blessed and equipped in a new way. As above, so below. That will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The devil copycats after what God is putting down. And as he sees that God is equipping us with new abilities, new powers, new direction, then he is that much more pressed, if you will, to get busy on his end. And that's what he's been doing. He's been getting busy on his end. And that's his job. So if we get busy on ours, we'll win. It's a tight fight, but we win in the end. Now, he murks the most, Obese. He's taken a lot of people out the game. He did a sacrifice ritual, or was involved in a big sacrifice ritual where he portrayed the sacrificer, not the sacrificee. And the sacrificee was Osama Obama. So they playing mind games with Obama. Big time mind games, the likes of which we didn't see with Bush. And Bush was fooling because he knew he was bloodline and he was equipped to clown. He felt as if he could not be touched. And Obama does not have that same air. He seems to be more cautious and much more controlled than Bush was. The wildness of Bush was evidence of lack of control. And also it was part of the good guy, bad cop, good cop, bad cop play that was being run on America at the time. It made things so bad. Bad cop came in, slapped you around, kicked your chair, knocked your pop over in your lap, got in your face, threatened you with football number time, and then in comes good cop. Just as smooth as he want to be. Smooth and silver tongued. Good looking, tall, handsome, lots of swagger. Looked like a cross between Will Smith and my man that played, I can't even think of that guy's name. Harry Lennox, I think is his name. My man that played in 5 Heartbeats, and he played Morpheus's leader in the final Matrix installments. But that brother, Harry Lennox, I believe is his name, he was used to train Obama and give him his game. And if you notice that brother Swag, he's a classically trained actor, Shakespearean, thespian. And so his delivery is such, his demeanor is such. They say Obese wasn't cut like that. But what he did was he learned how to mock that swag and mock that style because it's quote-unquote presidential. And he was slated to be president when he was a very young man. He knew he was going to be president, according to some sources, when he was 18 or 19. I heard an interview with someone who knew him from back in those days. As those interviews are coming out a lot more these days and times, where the guy said that at 19 he bumped into Obama, and Obama said that he told him he was going to be a president. Now that could either be very optimistic thinking for a young man, a very young, ambitious young man, or it could be that he knew he was dealing with some forces that were not of this world, and that he was being walked through certain doors as a walk-through victim himself. Because you see, when they put you under mind control, it's not just a mind thing, it's a spirit thing. The mind and the spirit are connected. Mind, body, and spirit are all three connected. One don't operate without the other. There's a system of checks and balances. So there's no way you can mentally or spiritually possess someone, or mind control someone, control their mind, and not have their spirit in tow. So this is why it's a demonic mind control. All mind control is based on the demonic. And when people miss that point, They're either very dense, they're locked in agnosticism, sadly, or they're deceiving you. One or the other. Because if a person doesn't understand that, they don't get it. The big picture. That's what mind control is. It's possession. And Obeezy himself has been possessed, and I believe that those little girls were also possessed. Did you hear that first Halloween he was in office, what they each said they would be for Halloween? Does anyone recall? Homework. Easy to find out. What did each of the girls, what did Sasha and Malia say that they were going to be for Halloween in Obama's first term? It was broadcast, I heard it, and it's ill. But again, to
the Muslim distraction. When you go out to other communities and you get to kick it with people outside of your own ethnicity, you will find different norms and mores and ideals. And I found that a lot of people are under the impression that he is a Muslim. And it's a sad thing because it's a disgrace to Muslims. Obama would never get on his knees 5 times a day and pray or skip out on his bacon or do anything else that the discipline of Islam requires. He is a Luciferian, and if you don't understand that, you have also missed the ball. You've missed the bus. That brother's Luciferian. He is not Muslim. He don't care nothing about none of the religions of Abraham. No disciplined religion. The religion of Crowley states, man, do as thou wilt. I mean, do what you want to do. That's what Tip Obeezy is on. Let's wake it up. The Dark Knight movie was all a premonition program to get you used to saying hi to the bad guy, to looking at the hero as dark. The last Superman did that. A lot of movies have recently been doing that. Even the last Star Wars installments, they built that as well. That whole idea was also there. Let's not get too far off that. But yes, people, he's Luciferian. All right. Obeezy is a Luciferian like the rest of the elite. And we've been conditioned to accept the bad guy as the good guy. Like scripture says that evil will be made fair seeming. Okay? How do you know he's not Muslim? They're all Luciferian. Luciferianism is simple. It's right in line with Crowleyism. He was a Luciferian. Do what you want to do. The religions of Abraham require discipline and therefore are not adequate for Luciferians to remain in. Okay? It takes all of the joy out of doing what you want to do if you have to stop and do what you're told to do 5 times a day, for one. Next, among the scriptures he's designed to fulfill, there's the one about the Antichrist not having a natural love for women. And I believe that's the book of Daniel. But the lack of a natural love for women. Deep. Now, not only does that denote homosexuality, but that denotes something else. He does have a love for women, but it's not natural. So what type of unnatural love does he have for the female form? Like all Boule members, like I was relayed to about basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal, who stated and this is third person conversation, but who stated to someone, and they let it be known, not just to myself, but to several others at one time, that Shaq said that the way that they get you is you start off just doing wild stuff, having 3 girls, 4 girls, 5, and then once that has ran its course and it's no longer fresh and new, then they begin to set you up with weird stuff, trannies. And they start you with trannies. And he said it was through trannies. And I mean, you know, in Vegas and in LA and in New York, they got some bad trannies. I'm sure of it. The culture there is much more expansive than it is here in Detroit. But and for a longer time, that's been somewhat accepted in certain cities. Well, here's the deal. You look at what happened with Eddie and Teddy. You look at Geraldine, Flip Wilson. The record that made him big was "The Devil Made Me Do It." RuPaul helped to set us up for this acceptance of trannyism, a black man that looks like a woman. Wendy Williams, Madea. I even was looking at Madea and thought about Maude, and how it had come to my spirit that Maude was one of the first examples of Hollywood clowning on you and playing with your mind and putting a man before you and saying that it's a woman. And again, that's just my theory, but I don't believe that B. Arthur was a woman. I believe that she either had a sex change or was a transsexual, one of the early ones in Hollywood. And Hollywood is Hollyweird. And homosexual magic and bisexual magic, it's a big part of life there. It's why the community of the lesbian, bi, gay, transsexual, queer counterculture is so rampant there, because there's so much Crowley magic there, and that energy is so powerful there. Also, you have the spirit of Kali over California. Everybody say, where you going? I'm going back to Cali. And Kali is where you get Cali from. The C produces both the S and K sounds. The C itself is not an original or real letter. The C is representative of either the K or the S. And in the case of California, you know it is representative of a K. So the C produces the K sound for California, thus revealing the origin of that syllable in the word, California. Kali for the demon of Kali. Again, there's androgyny implied in Kali, who is supposed to be a female, but looks about the same as Krishna to me. They all have such androgynous features. This is part of Luciferianism, as Crowley talked about the law of reversal, turning things backward. It's one reason why homosexual behavior is so prevalent and important in Hollywood, because the turning around backward is literal and physical. It's literal, and figurative. Where the turning around backward can be you. They want to turn you around backward. Your nature, your natural nature as a man, turn it around backward, crisscross you. The two Chris's, duality. So the duality thing in the White House, even, of course, with Obeezy, who lives a double life, who plays the role of being clean cut. Duality, controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Prince, Jerry curls. These things help to something. Set us up as a black nation for accepting something that we don't, the nation as a whole, to accept something, because the nation as a whole is being conditioned to open up itself to accept a sexual preference as a minority. thus showing you the power of sex magic in this land in particular. So here's the killer dealer. Michelle Obama, I believe, is a transsexual. I believe that she is either a man who has been turned into a woman with high cheekbone surgery and everything, but still a Johnson, because I'm very disturbed by the picture with junk not in her trunk but in her front, in the blue dress, and also just my understanding of what it takes to be a Boule man of that level that he would have to be on to be the president of the free world, quote unquote. So that means that he's done it all, and he's a top-notch Boule butt burglar, if ever there was one. So why not put him with a transsexual? And with the twisted way that they get down, and they want to twist the ways of God and the ways of nature, maybe they inseminated her. They've done that, you know. They've inseminated transgender people before. They've caused a woman who had a sex change into being a man. She was still able to bear a child. Well, the tampering with of nature goes all the way back to the book of Joshua and the book of Enoch. The fallen angels, with their tampering, with their technology and technology, they came down here and they very specifically had an agenda to twist up and mix up creation, all of creation, sexuality included, and especially sexuality. And Obeezy is put in position in these last days and times because the white car has gotten too hot and it's been reported stolen. So the devil has jumped out of the white car and hopped in the black one. And now the black one is cruising slow. It's got big rims. It's getting plenty of attention. And the dirty work is to be done in the end, as it was done in the beginning, as it was in the days of Noah. So shall it be in the last days. The first shall be as the last, and the last shall be as the first. Obeezy shall be as the first king of Babylon, and the last king of Babylon shall be as the first king of Babylon. Nimrod. The reverence of Nimrod by Black Masons is also notable and connects to this theory. Also the reverence to Solomon. Now, do you think that Solomon's wives were able to confuse a man so wise without the use of sex and magic? It is said that it was through following after their other gods. And the gods of old in that day and time required blood or sex, sometimes both. There are some rituals that involve both. The more gruesome and ill the sexual cocktail that you concoct is, the more depraved and blasphemous it is, the easier you open up doorways and portals to allow beings in. And the deception is that you can control the being and it will do your bidding. The being will play that role with you for a minute until he wraps you around his finger, like Sting and the Police said. You'll be wrapped around its finger. Now, the importance of homosex magic and Crowleyism cannot be underestimated or understated. You've seen many videos where it shows you that the phallus is represented by the obelisk, and that the circular structures that you see made all over the world, constructed all over the world, like the one in St. Peter's Basilica, the courtyard in the back there where you see the big circle with the obelisk right in the middle of it. It's representing sex magic. Sex magic is the reason for the season. It's the key. It's their big thing. It's the big secret. People say, well, what's the secret of the secret society? I used to always say that they worship Lucifer. That's only part of it. For some people, it would be more damning if people knew that they were also body boys, butt burglars, butthole surfers, as the group was called. So, like I said, you have Eddie and Teddy, both getting caught with what? Transvestites. Wasn't that ill? And the rhyming of the name, too. You see, they do these things to embarrass, to humiliate. That's part of ritual and part of ritualistic abuse programming, to traumatize someone. The trauma, Teddy ended up in a wheelchair. He would never write again. But Eddie was able to get a grip and come back on in. You know, he wanted more of what they have to offer, and he came back and became a woman, Rasputia. So this is why it is rampant in Hollywood, music, and politics to find not only homosexuality, but to find hidden homosexuality, hidden depravity, and hidden deviant sexual practices. Because those deviant sexual practices constitute rituals. We call them other than rituals, but it's what they are. You know, a rose by any other name is still the same. So you call it being freaky. It says, well, the marriage bed is undefiled. That don't mean that you do any and every old vile thing in the bed just because you're married to that person. You don't want them to catch a demon, nor you. Nor do you want to tear fabric open in the household and turn your house into a big portal with the children in there, constantly under demonic attack because you and your wife want to play booty hole games. So they have power based on their allegiance to Crowley and magic. This is why you see so much reverence to Crowley from black peons like Boule with his big lip, butt buddy self. Now, there's also more reason to take note of Obama. He is picked because the job of the New World Order in creating America was to create something that would be eventually destroyed in order to be rebuilt. Thus the fixation with the phoenix, which rises again from the ashes after it dies. America will too rise again from the ashes after it dies, which is one reason why they wanted to put the phoenix on the flag instead of the eagle, because of the phoenix's ability to die and rise again. Well, they knew that they would kill this thing, this project that they were building, that we all believed in so much, the American way, American life, American dream, which you have to be asleep to have a dream. But they would build it up, only to build it up so high and so tall, to intentionally destroy it, cause the people to beg and plead for control and security, and then build it back up as a jail around them. And that was the goal. Well, guess whose job it is to drive the car into the wall? Who dies first in the movies, y'all? The movie Prometheus, I found it interesting, the role that Idris Elba played. A black man drives the ship, which is symbolic of America, into the ground for the greater good. That was deep. For the greater good of all, the black man's only alternative is to drive the ship into the ground and sacrifice people in order that others may live. And that's another part of the Luciferian lie of death and rebirth. A big death and rebirth ritual beyond just Detroit. Detroit is the engine, so the engine had to be seized up. The motor city. Well, the nation, the world system itself is supposed to do the same thing. That's why you see so much chaos and turmoil, total chaos, mass confusion all over the world, because the world is to collapse so that the world's people cry out for the leaders to finally do what the leaders been wanting to do anyway. It's problem, reaction, solution, bait and switch, the whole 9 yards, overplay for the underlay, all kinds of different names for the same games, deception. So last but certainly not least, you will find out, if you don't believe none of this and you mad about me talking about your half-black, so-called black, maybe black president. We don't know what he is. He might be Indonesian. Yeah, we all descend from Africa at the end of the day, but come on, man. He perpetrating a fraud. Healthcare and the mark will give it away. Now, the same way that Tupac's name was given to him, because his name was Lassane Parish Crooks. Interesting name. Lassane Crooks. Crooks. Thug life. Thuggian. Thugay life. The Hindu or Indian gang. And then Obizi gets from Barry Soetoro to Barack Obama, which translates to lightning from heaven. And Lassane Crooks gets Tupac, which translates to shining serpents. So when their parents give them over to these devils program, the devils in the program change their names. Simple. End of story. So to y'all be the glory. That's my story. Love, peace, and blessings to you. It's been a long night, but I had to get something going on. It was only right. So until next time, shalom from your souls to your dome in your home.